As usual, the Trump scum and his filthy followers are, they're trying the same bullshit ploy. They're trying to claim that these tiny little glitches that occurred in a couple of states during the balloting yesterday is clear and very evident proof of vote tampering, right? These minor little problems in the midterm elections, they're turning them into conspiracy theories and bullshit claims, trying to cast doubt again about Democratic victories, which is just continuing the shit that they started as a result, going with Trump, going all the way back to 2016. Election day yesterday, it came off with no widespread or major voting snags at all. But some of these Christian demon candidates tried to distort the severity of the few hitches that did occur, like the voting machines in Arizona that temporarily malfunctioned and they had to turn them off until they got it fixed. And then some Detroit voters wrongly being told that they had already cast ballots. According to the director of voting and elections for this nonpartisan group, you've heard of them before. I totally respect them. Common Cause. A spokesperson for that group, Sylvia Albert, said, quote, "The most concerning thing is the way those isolated incidents are being used to spread mis- and disinformation and lies around this election in an attempt to undermine people's confidence and faith in the election," end quote. Well, what I would say is after all the bullshit lies and distortions that proved out to be bullshit lies and distortions, surely this time people will hear this and go, "Oh shit, shut the fuck up. Sit down, get out of town with your lies." And, in 2020, all this conspiracy shit about the rigged election were fueled by these bogus reports of suitcases stuffed with fraudulent ballots. That was supposed to have occurred here in Georgia. And ballot mules loading up drop boxes with fraudulent ballots. The Christian Terrorist Party has kept up that rhetoric since then. And in doing that, they laid the groundwork for screeching and farting and wheezing about this year's elections. Before Election Day, yesterday, more than 100 lawsuits were filed across the country targeting mail-in voting rules, targeting voting machine security, targeting poll watchers. Jesus Christ. If you remember, after the Orange Vomit lost Arizona to Joe Biden by just over 10,000 votes in 2020, he and his filthy Christian supporters peddled a whole bunch of allegations about election wrongdoing that, when investigated, just disappeared into smoke, crumbled under scrutiny, just vanished, of course. So here we are 2 years later, and Arizona remains pivotal. Democrats held narrow leads earlier today in those too close to call races for governor and U.S. Senate. But the Orange Vomit and his Christian supporters are trying to blow way out of proportion the problems with vote tabulation equipment in about 25% of polling places in Maricopa County, which is Phoenix. And that's where the majority of the state's voting population resides. So here's the scam. Codes on ballots that were printed too lightly to be read by tabulating scanners caused the confusion. So the voters who were impacted were given a choice. Leave their ballots in a locked box at their polling place to be counted at a central office today, or take them to another voting center yesterday. So the Orange Vomit, being the prick that he is, immediately glommed onto that problem in a message on his toy social network. He said the problem was an effort by Democrats to, quote, steal the election, end quote. Oh, really? You filthy pig. Now, the senior director of the Elections and Government Program at the Brennan Center for Justice, the guy's name is Lawrence Norden, he said, quote, every election, every national election, you have problems like these somewhere. The fact that we're talking about them the next day speaks to the fact that there was an organized effort to weaponize these types of minor problems. Whew. Now, the Republican, I don't know if he's a Christian demon or not, the Republican official who oversees the election in Maricopa County said he was sorry for the inconvenience. And he pledged that every legal vote would be counted no matter which method the voters chose. Leave your ballot here in a locked box or take it somewhere else, whatever you want to do. But the bitch Trump fellator Carrie Lake, the Christian terrorist candidate for governor, told her supporters that they should leave the ballot to be counted later only if they couldn't wait, and that they should not take it to another polling place. Oh, well, she said, quote, "The system we have right now does not work. We, the people, deserve to know on election night the winner and the loser, and we will bring that kind of election back to Arizona. I assure you of that." End quote. Oh, sit the fuck down, bitch, and shut up. Man. And then some Trump scum also focused on a glitch in Detroit. Some electronic poll books there used for signing in voters displayed an error message stating that numbers on ballots already had been assigned to an absentee ballot. So poll workers were able to use paper ballot backup poll books where the electronic ones had problems. Now, why Detroit? Well, why is it a big issue? Detroit is a Democratic stronghold in the state of Michigan. So turnout in Detroit can be key in election outcomes. And on Tuesday, the Democratic governor, Gretchen Whitmer, was reelected as governor. Democrats also won their races for Attorney General and Secretary of State, defeating these Christian demons who said the 2020 election results were fraudulent. A spokesman for the Michigan Secretary of State, a guy named Jake Rollau, said, quote, "It was identified, the problem in Detroit, it was identified and resolved quite quickly, and voters who were wrongly flagged were given ballots." End quote. But that didn't keep the orange vomit and his scummy fillators from not protesting in Detroit. And the spokesman for the Secretary of State said, quote, "We have seen misinformation spread about nuances and complexity of elections for more than 2 years. It continues to be a threat to our democracy, a threat to voters' faith in our elections, and really just puts an unfortunate part, or it really is just an unfortunate part of the current political era." Well, so much for those scummy bastards. Have I mentioned yet tonight how much I hate these people? I think I have. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.